Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart. Not be all and truly, save that thou waking or sleeping, thy presence, my life.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Good Word. I'm so glad you could join us this week. Today is St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 2021. And yes, we began our video clip with a classic Irish hymn, Be Thou My Vision. It goes way back to like the 6th century. It is one of the most well-loved and enduring hymns of all times. It's one of my favorites. Perhaps it's one of yours. Be Thou My Vision, O Lord of my heart. Love that song. I thought it would be good for us today to take a look at St. Patrick. Who was this man who has this special day and these great celebrations? Boy, is his day celebrated here in the United States and all over the world. We're turning rivers green and pulling out the corned beef and cabbage and the shamrocks and all the fun things. Shamrock shakes at McDonald's. Got to get myself one of those. So who was this Patrick? Patrick is the patron saint of Ireland. Now, interestingly enough, Patrick was not Irish. He was born British, born in the 5th century, in the 400s. And he came to Ireland as a slave, captured by pirates and brought as a young boy to Ireland as a slave. And there he tended sheep. Now, he was not, when he first came there, a very religious young man. His father was a deacon in the church, but Patrick's faith grew in this time of captivity. He learned to lean on and lean into his God during difficult times. It's so many people throughout church history, throughout world history, and even today do. When times are tough, we lean on and lean into God. And so Patrick became very devout and very committed. And in a vision, he was told he would return to Britain. And sure enough, passageway was made for him, and he made his way back to Britain. And after he was there a couple of years, free and home, he felt a strong call from God to return to Ireland, to bring the gospel, to strengthen the few faithful that were already there. Christianity was already there. He wasn't the first one to bring Christianity to Ireland, but to strengthen the few faithful that were there and to convert others. And so Patrick signed up for the priesthood, and he studied, and he got ordained and got commissioned and called to go to Ireland, and that's exactly what he did. And then he did what God had called him to do. He strengthened the faithful and preached the gospel, and he converted people. He established churches and baptized thousands of people and spread the gospel. He was a man of courage. He was a man who followed God's call. Boy, can we learn from that as well, can't we? God has called all of us out into the world. He's called all of us to be on mission for him. He may not have called you to some exotic country and some wild adventure on the other side of the world. That's only for a few. But he has called all of us to step out of our comfort zones and to bring the love and the message of Christ. Now, some of us are better at speaking, and some of us are better at leading, and some of us are better at serving. We've talked about that with all the spiritual gifts, but God has called all of us to step out. We can find courage in Patrick, who stepped out of comfortable, free Britain and went back to Ireland, where he was a slave, to bring the gospel. God often calls us out of our comfort zones into difficult places. Now, God may be calling you simply out of your comfort zone to shine the light a little brighter at work or at school, to share your faith, to tell others about Jesus. He may not be calling you to go somewhere far away, simply to go into Holden or Rutland or Worcester or wherever it is he's placed you, but be open to his call. And when you hear his call, as Patrick did, respond to that call. Now, you may be saying, well, Patrick was a saint. I'm not a saint. It's interesting, right? In the Catholic Church, saints are this special group of people who were specially called and gifted and did great things. And you sort of have to apply and be recommended for sainthood, and then you're endowed with sainthood. You know, that's not something we really believe in as Protestants, but there certainly are heroes of the faith who've gone before us, many great Christians and missionaries who never were the title saint. Patrick really doesn't have the title saint. He's not officially a saint. He did his work for the Lord before they ever really had that title. Even though he's called saint, I don't believe he's officially canonized. But for those of us who are Protestant Christians, we believe that all are saints of God. In fact, that's one of the verses I wanted to share with you today from 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 9 to 10. You are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Once you were not a people, but now you are the people of God. That, my friends, is such a great truth. We are a chosen people, a royal priesthood. We're all priests of God. We're all saints of God. There's no one who's better or less than anyone else. We're all chosen by God to declare his praises and to do his good works. Regardless of Patrick's official status, whether he's an official saint of the Catholic Church or not, whether he deserves the title or not, whether you or I deserve the title or not, we're all sinners who are saved by God's grace and called to his wonderful purpose in Christ. You know, Patrick was not without controversy and without scandal. There is some rough edges there. Many people thought he was very tyrannical and hard to deal with and very harsh with people, especially those who opposed him, I suppose. Many great leaders and people that change the world usually have a very aggressive personality. That's why they do what they do and are called to do what they do. Martin Luther was just like that. Many others have been as well. He was also considered an opportunist, and people criticized him for trying to win over women to the faith, and slaves and people he felt were kind of oppressed and vulnerable, to try to convert them first in his efforts to convert the people of Ireland. Well, good for him. I mean, that's a great way to go about it, but it certainly does bring up its criticism. One thing for sure is Patrick was not a perfect person, but he went about the work of God. And by the way, the work of God was the winning of souls. That's always been the primary mission of the church. Yes, we need to care for the poor. Yes, we need to help people out and do those kind of things with physical and tangible needs. But the most important thing is to spread the gospel. And boy, do I find encouragement from Patrick in that regard. Saints like this remind me of my and our primary mission. Yes, we need to help out the people around us in Wachusett and Worcester who are in need. But the thing they need more than anything else is the gospel. And my friends, the gospel is kind of eroding and fading into the background in our culture. And we need to help people with money and food and clothes and all kinds of things, but we need to be bringing the gospel. And we need to find the courage that Patrick had and others have had to follow that call and to go and be and do and share the gospel. You know, one of the other things that Patrick did that I find so encouraging and inspiring, and others have done it throughout Christian history, is God gave Patrick wisdom to transform his culture. I love that idea of transforming. Sometimes Christians get in this mindset of we're here and you're there culture. And we need to be more in this mindset of transformation. For example, we've talked about this before at Christmas. Christmas has a lot of pagan traditions that were transformed into Christian traditions with Christian meaning. It was easier for people to slide from paganism to Christianity when some of their holidays could be transformed rather than banished. Bonfires were very common gatherings and sites of worship. And Patrick transformed those to be a part of the Easter celebration in Ireland. Patrick also put the sun, which was a very sacred symbol in Ireland, in the center of the cross and made that beautiful image of the cross with this round circle of the sun in the middle. And perhaps most famously, Patrick took the beloved clover, that green clover with its 3 leaves. Remember, the 4-leaf is the lucky one, but the 3-leaf is the standard one, to remind people of the Trinity, that there were 3 parts of God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. My friends, we can learn from that too, to be creative in our culture, to rather than constantly pushing the culture away, to try to transform it. What new meaning can we give to things that people are already doing? It can be a dangerous and slippery slope, and it requires wisdom and a lot of prayer, because some things are just so tainted in a negative and an ungodly way that they're hard to redeem, but other things can be. We've done that with music. That devil's music of rock and roll has now come into the church, and we sing it, but it was hard to sanctify and cross that bridge at first. But there may be other ways that we can transform our culture. Hey, here we are using YouTube and media, which can be used for so many ungodly things, but here we are embracing it as a way of communicating in our culture today. I appreciate the witness of St. Patrick. I appreciate him following the call of God. I appreciate the creativity that God gave him. I appreciate the grace that God gave him. I appreciate who he is. And I find courage in him. And that's the second verse I want to share with you today. From Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. And Josh used this in the Good Word a couple weeks ago. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders us and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race that is marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. I love that verse, and I appreciate St. Patrick and his witness to us. May we step out. May we find courage in people like Patrick and the other saints who've gone before, so that we can live our Christian lives with courage and bravery. And may we fix our eyes on Jesus. May he be our vision today and tomorrow and for all the years to come. Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart. Happy St. Patrick's Day. God bless you.
Be thou my wisdom, be thou my true word. I am with thee, and thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, and I thy true Son.
The Lord bless you
and keep you.
The Lord make his face
to shine upon you
and be gracious to you.
The Lord lift up his countenance upon you
and give you peace.